Well, GRIME is a new Metroidvania Souls-like that combines platforming, action and plenty of secrets. So developed by a small team, this game shows loads of potential, and if you like games like Hollow Knight and Dead Cells, this one could be something worth checking out. In terms of story, it is a little thin on the ground. However, you start out the game essentially being born into the dark, dank world filled with rock people. So two huge super beings appear to be caught in a loved-up embrace. They go to kiss, and somehow you're born into the world. You're human-like with elements of rock, but you have a black hole for a head. Immediately you notice you're slightly different from the other rock creatures that inhabit this world. They're misshapen, they're ugly, and one in particular appears to worship you as a perfected form. So you're taken through the ropes of running and jumping and using your starter weapon, and then it's off you go. So your objective is to battle your way through a series of caves, deserts and different environments to ascend and find your creators. Well, GRIME's environment and visual style immediately catches the eye. Initially you'll start underground in a series of caves where the inhabitants are disfigured, harsh and hidden from the light. There's eyes watching in the walls and the music is really atmospheric. Limbs extrude from pots trying to grab and hurt you. Rock beings are slumped on the floor, lunging forward with their attacks in a desperate attempt to try and stop you. It's all really unsettling and quite strange, but it's a really great setting for a game. As you make your way through the caves, in the earlier levels you meet a character called Yin. So he's a small disfigured rock being. He lives in the caves and he looks up to you as being a perfect being. The rock beings who live underground appear to be suppressed in some way by those who live above. As you find your path to the levels above, Yin and his friends follow you, and they add an extra dimension to the story, which is really, really welcome. So the environments change fairly regularly. There's a sense of scale and beauty to GRIME. The map is vast with winding tunnels and plenty of secret doors to find. And the map reminded me of Hollow Knight. You'll start off an area in the dark, but you'll find a purple glowing beacon to unveil the area that you're in, and all the levels are interconnected. There's checkpoints to find, which is really useful because the game is fairly challenging and you're likely going to die plenty, and at these checkpoints you can level up various attacks and it'll make you stronger as you go. Well, GRIME is a classic Metroidvania in terms of gameplay, and you're going to level up, find new items and be able to find new areas as you progress. So in terms of movement, it's not quite free-flowing as something like Ori. However, you do have a dodge mechanic, which is really useful in battle, and then later on in the game you get a double jump. The platforming and the movement in the game does feel a little bit limited at times, but ultimately it is quite satisfying, and the verticality of the levels does stand out as a feature, as you're going to be running and jumping and trying to work your way through crumbling platforms and navigating through high-speed lifts that will crush you if you take a wrong turn. Well, combat in GRIME takes on a Souls-like form. Enemies are challenging, and you've got a variety of weapons to take them down. So weapons include swords, clubs and daggers in all different shapes and forms. As well as your weapons, there's a decent parry mechanic which utilises the black hole on your head. So when an enemy attacks you, you have to time the button press just right, and the black hole will absorb the incoming attacks and repel against the enemy with a high damage attack. So each weapon has got 3 stats. You've got strength, dexterity and resonance, which is basically magic. And as well as your attacks, you've got a healing mechanic, and you'll build up a yellow-orange meter, and you can refill your health periodically. So in addition to your abilities, you can also absorb enemies and gain new abilities which can be unlocked through hunt points. So each absorbable enemy has an ability associated to them. For example, getting health back, increasing stamina, and helping you find secrets, and so on and so forth. So these additional abilities really open up things and give you plenty of freedom to mix and match combat and exploration styles in GRIME. We've got checkpoints throughout as well called surrogates, and they act in a similar way to Dark Souls bonfires. So as you're making your way through levels, you'll collect XP, and this can be used at surrogate points to level up. So in a slight difference to other Souls games, you don't lose XP when you die, and everything you collect is permanent, which makes it a little easier as you progress. The currency you lose when you die is called Ardor, which you'll collect as you progress by killing enemies without taking damage. So there's a limit on your Ardor that's set to 100. If you die, you'll lose it, but you can get some of it back if you find the last place you died and collect them from your ghost. So as you progress through GRIME, things are getting a little bit tough. That's a nice mechanic and doesn't punish you too much. This is a combination of a Metroidvania and Souls-like, and there's a blend of mechanics from each genre rather than too much Souls. It's tough, but ultimately pretty well balanced, which feels rewarding throughout. Some bosses, however, are pretty rough when you first meet them, but after a few tries and learning their mechanics, it shouldn't take too long to get past these tougher foes. The boss fights should also be noted though, they tend to be massive, grotesque beings with a variety of attacks you'll be dodging and careful timing to make sure you're not crushed in a single blow. These set pieces are pretty much the pinnacle of gameplay in Grime and offer up a major challenge. So similar to Souls bosses, you'll be learning their moves and timing, plus selecting the right weapons to go into battle. It can really change the outcome. So parrying comes into the forefront in the boss fights, as you'll need everything in your arsenal to chip away slowly at their massive health bars. Well, Grime has a lot going for it. You know, the exploration, the platforming, it's fun and engaging. There's so many secrets to find, and you're trained early on in the game to check for hidden walls and secret passages. Combat is tough, but it's doable, and the environments are varied and really well done, and the game is almost a painting come alive. Now, I understand the team working on the game is really small, and I think they can all be hugely proud of what they've achieved. Well, the game is developed by Cloverbyte and Spooky Doorway. It's published by Akupara Games. It's available on PC via Steam, Mac and also Google Stadia, and it was originally released on the 2nd of August 2021. Well, that is it for my review of Grime. Really exciting indie game. And 2021 so far has been a fantastic year for indie games. I would recommend going out there, especially the two that I've talked today. So Grime and Death's Door, two of the best indie games to come out this year. We've also got Valheim, of course, that's been another great hit. Loop Hero, so many fantastic indie games this year. It's really good stuff, and it's great to see. Well, that is it for my thoughts on Grime, and as always, thank you so much for watching. Hit that subscribe button down below and subscribe to This Week in Video Games. If you want to join the community, check out the Discord link in the description, or you can follow me on Twitter at TWIVG Podcast. If you enjoyed this video and found it useful, liking and sharing the video would really help me out. Otherwise, check out the other videos on the channel. Thanks again. I'll see you soon.